In the quiet town of Meadow Creek, nestled in the scenic hills of Vermont, I was the sole teacher at our only school. Meadow Creek was a small community, with few young residents, but it blossomed with visitors during the summer. They came for the breathtaking views and the crisp, clean mountain air, which was said to have healing properties. I lived in a boarding house that filled with these summer guests, and I often shared breakfast and supper with them, exchanging stories before heading to my school. The schoolhouse was just on the other side of a wooded hill. The road looped around for a mile and a half, but a hidden path through the forest offered a shortcut, a mere 50-minute walk. One evening, at the end of the school term, I was walking back along this path. I had stayed late to finish student reports, and the sun was setting, casting long, dramatic shadows through the trees. Tired, I sat on a fallen log to watch the golden light fade. The woods were peaceful until I heard voices, a woman's, sharp with anger, and a man's, a deep, melodic baritone that sounded like a singer's. I couldn't see them, but their words carried clearly through the still air. "Don't threaten me," the man said smoothly. "There is nothing you can do. If you try to change things, you will both suffer." "What do you mean by that?" the woman's cultured voice shot back. "Are you saying you'll murder us?" The man fell silent. I was hungry and eager to get back for supper, but I didn't want to interrupt their tense confrontation. I looked around, but saw no one. Deciding to press on, I stood up and continued down the path. It was nearly dark now, but I soon spotted them standing among the trees. The man was tall and slender, dressed in dark clothing that blended with the shadows. The woman wore a pale, ghost-like gray dress. They hadn't seen me. As I watched from a distance, the woman suddenly knelt before the man, her hands clasped together. Was she pleading with him, or praying for her safety? The scene felt heavy with trouble, and I instinctively stepped behind a large oak tree. When I peeked out again, they were gone. The lights of the boarding house were a welcome sight, but the unsettling encounter in the forest lingered in my mind. The next morning at breakfast, I noticed some new guests. A young woman sat across from me, but she wasn't the one from the woods. Then, another young lady entered, looking strikingly similar to the first. They were both incredibly beautiful. When the second one spoke, I instantly recognized her voice. It was the angry voice from the forest. They had to be sisters, perhaps around 18 and 20. I finished my coffee and left, not wanting to eavesdrop on their private conversation. Later, I heard the man's voice. He was in the garden, practicing his singing. He had a powerful, trained voice, singing an aria from a famous opera. It seemed out of place in our simple town. Was he showing off for the other guests? I walked away, feeling a strange sense of unease. When I returned, I saw the older sister in the garden with the singer. He was dressed in elegant black clothes. As I approached, he turned, and I saw his face for the first time. He was older, perhaps 50, but strikingly handsome, with thick, jet-black hair that matched his expensive, fashionable attire. He looked like someone from the grand opera houses of Europe. He looked directly at me, his gaze so intense it felt as if he could read my thoughts. There was no anger in his expression, yet a sudden, inexplicable fear washed over me. I couldn't explain it, but I knew this man was dangerous. He placed a hand on the young woman's arm, turned her away, and led her inside without a word. My curiosity got the better of me, and I asked the landlady, a notorious gossip, about the new arrivals. "Oh, them," she said, happy to share. "The two girls are Amelia and Clara Vance, from Boston. The man is Mr. Julian Croft. He's their guardian since their father passed away. He's looking after them until they turn 21 and inherit their father's fortune. Clara, the younger one, isn't well, you see. Mr. Croft thinks the fresh air here will do her good. He certainly spares no expense on them or himself, probably spending their inheritance. With the school on summer vacation, I spent my days hiking the hills. I often saw Mr. Croft and the two sisters out walking, and they always seemed happy. The memory of Clara's frightened words, "Are you saying you'll murder us?" began to fade. Then, tragedy struck. The town awoke one morning to the terrible news. Amelia, the older sister, was dead. I went to the boarding house, where a small crowd had gathered. In the sitting room, Clara was weeping beside her sister's body, which lay in a simple wooden coffin. Amelia's face was pale, as if she were merely sleeping. Suddenly, Julian Croft pushed through the crowd. He reached for Clara's hand, but she recoiled. "It was you," she shrieked, her voice filled with anguish. "You did this. You." "She doesn't know what she's saying," Croft said softly to the room. "The shock has been too much for her." He moved toward Clara again, but she backed away. Instead of reaching for her, he slowly passed his hand in front of her face. Instantly, her eyes closed and she went still. He took her hand, wrapped an arm around her, and she began to sob quietly as he led her from the room. The official inquest was brief. After hearing from Croft and a doctor, the coroner ruled Amelia Vance's death was due to heart disease. Her body was sent back to Boston for burial, but neither Croft nor Clara attended the funeral, which struck the townsfolk as odd. "Poor Clara," the landlady told me later. "Her health is so fragile. Mr. Croft is worried a trip to the city would be too much for her. It's best she stays here." A week later, I saw them in the garden after supper. They were standing under a large maple tree, holding hands and gazing into each other's eyes like lovers. It was a disturbing sight. He was her guardian, old enough to be her father. Hidden in the shadows, I listened. "You're going to kill me," Clara said, her voice a whisper. "I know you killed Amelia. I'm begging you, do it quickly. Let me be at peace." Croft didn't answer. He simply released her hand and walked up the hill toward the forest, his beautiful, wild voice echoing as he sang. Clara watched him go, her hands clasped in front of her as if in prayer. I stepped out of the shadows, startling her. "Miss Vance," I said gently, "I'm sorry. I overheard. I believe you are in terrible danger." "You can do nothing," she replied, her voice distant, her eyes wide and bright as if she were in a trance. "You need to wake up," I insisted, taking her hand. "You said he killed your sister and that he'll kill you. You must let me help you. I have to tell the police." The mention of the police seemed to snap her out of her stupor. Her demeanor turned cold and polite. "This is my affair, not yours," she said firmly. "My sister died of natural causes. If you repeat what you heard, I will deny everything. No one will believe you." Then, she gave me a sweet, disarming smile. "Come, walk with me. He will be gone all night. We'll talk and you'll forget all about this." I was young and perhaps a bit naive, and I was utterly captivated by her beauty. We walked in the garden, and I found myself falling for her. Before we parted, I asked her to meet me the next day for a walk to an old mill on the hilltop. "If he's not here, yes, I'll go with you," she agreed. I went to bed that night feeling happier than I had in a long time. The next afternoon, she met me in the garden, and my heart soared. Croft was nowhere in sight. We walked up the path to the mill in comfortable silence. She knew the way well. But at the mill, she didn't stop. She continued on, taking a steeper path toward a cliff known locally as Eagle's Point. The view was magnificent but dizzying. I kept my distance from the edge, but Clara stood right on the precipice, looking up at the sky. Suddenly, we heard footsteps. It was Julian Croft. "I saw you on the path," he said casually, so I followed. Clara turned to him, her face illuminated with a look of pure love. "I'm so glad you came," she said, and I knew she meant it. But as she gazed at him, a flicker of terror crossed her eyes. Her lips were smiling, but her eyes screamed fear. It was the look of a trapped animal, with that terrifying, smiling expression still on her face. She took a single step backward and vanished over the edge of the cliff. We scrambled down the path. Croft reached the bottom first. I couldn't bear to look at what was left of the beautiful Clara Vance. "She's dead," Croft stated calmly, without touching the body. "I'll go into town and fetch the sheriff. You stay here." He started to walk away, then turned back to me. "You saw what happened. It was a tragic accident. She took her own life. You saw it. You're a murderer," I choked out. "A damn murderer. You didn't lay a hand on her, but I know you killed her." He turned his back on me and walked into the forest. As he disappeared among the trees, I could hear him singing, his hauntingly beautiful voice carrying on the wind.